Can you do 10 layers of pink? Yes, I can. I'm gonna be using my pink acrylic called Duvalin. Okay, so I didn't know what to talk about, but I just remembered something that happened a few months ago. Okay, so get ready because this one traumatized me, okay? So a few months ago, I was laying in bed. I was on the phone with my boyfriend when all of a sudden I get a message, and it was like 1 in the morning. And the message said, "Hey, I'm outside, come out." And I was just like, what the hell? It was a random number, and I was like, who's outside of my house? Like, who is that? So I tell my boyfriend, I'm like, someone just sent me a message and they told me they're outside my house, but I don't know whose number it is. And he was like, what the fuck? That's so weird. And he was like, are you sure you don't know who it is? And I'm like, no, I don't know who it is. It's a random number. So I thought it was a friend. So I messaged them back and I was like, who is this? And they were like, no, come outside and you'll see who it is. And I'm like, oh, hell no. Now, me and my boyfriend have crazy exes. So at this point, I'm thinking maybe it's an ex. Maybe it's an old friend. But if it was an old friend, they would have told me who they were. So that's when I got up and I walked to the living room and I look out the window and I see. Story time! Okay, so me and my boyfriend have been dating for 2 years and a few months already. And lately I've been noticing that he wouldn't let me do anything on his phone. Like, for example, take pictures or videos of us, like literally nothing. So one thing to know is that I always go with him to his practices. So while he's practicing, he always gives me his phone and I always watch in the stands. So this one day I went to his practice and as always, he gave me his phone. That's when I thought it would be a perfect time to check his phone. I did my Face ID and it didn't work. I put in the password and it also didn't work. So at this point, I was already getting really mad. That's when I also noticed that his notifications said notification when it popped up. He had changed the settings on his notifications. So instead of it showing the name and what they said, it just shows notification from this app. So then after I seen that, I was really fed up. So then after his practice, I asked him why he's been acting so funny lately and I ended up confronting him about his phone. And of course, he tried to play it off and said it was nothing. We ended up getting into a huge fight and we didn't talk for 2 weeks. Fast forward a bit and I was going to a quince that weekend.
Chelsea is back and she came to me with another life update. And yes, she allows me to share her stories because she knows her life experiences could really help someone out there. So it's been over half a year since her ex cleared out her savings. She's been through many hurdles, but she came a long way, and today she told me she officially moved on and has found someone that she really likes. There's only one problem: he's married. He keeps telling her he'll leave his wife, but we all know how that could end. Chelsea knows it too. He's been with his wife for 8 years now and has been wanting to get a divorce for a while. But the question is, will he? It's hard to let go of something you're used to or comfortable with. Chelsea said that there are no kids involved, which might make things easier, but what if he's just getting her hopes up? She also doesn't want to be the person to break up a marriage. What do you guys think? Has anyone been in this situation? Any advice?
Story time! Okay, so this happened when I was in 5th grade. So it was towards the end of the school year and I had this best friend. We'll call my best friend Becca. So I want to say that me and Becca were literally living the best friend dream. We had all of the same classes except for like 1 or 2. We had the same bus stops, the same friends, and we were even neighbors. And to me, she was basically my sister. So one thing to know is that me and Becca both lived in a trailer park. And this one specific day, me and Becca went to go visit her sister. Her sister lived a few minutes away from us and me and Becca lived in the same road so we could walk back home together. So then after we were done visiting her sister, we began walking back home. And one thing to know is that I had lived there for 2 years and Becca has lived there her entire life, so we knew this trailer park by heart. So as we're walking, we're laughing and we're joking around. And we were about halfway through the park when I noticed that there was a van. Yes, a white van. That's when we also noticed that the person driving the van was a man. We ignored it and thought nothing about the guy or the van. But the thing was, we could tell that he didn't know where he was going. Story time! Okay, so this one particular night, I was awake and it was around 2 in the morning. While I was laying in bed, I heard footsteps outside, but I just kind of figured that it was my daughter. So I got up, I opened the door, and I walked outside. I walked out there thinking that, of course, it was my daughter. So I yelled out, I was like, what the hell are you doing? I quickly realized that it wasn't my crazy daughter, but my crazy neighbor. He was looking the other way, but when he heard me say that, he turned around. He then said, the lady, in a very soft voice. And then he said, the lady, the lady, the lady, the lady, literally like 10 times, and he just kept repeating that. He was just staring at me, repeating the same thing over and over again. I was standing there staring at him, kind of weirded out, until it finally clicked in my head, and I was like, what the hell am I doing standing here? I need to call 911. So I go back inside and then I call 911 and then my neighbor leaves. I thought that would be the end of it until a few nights later. This time I was with my sister, my granddaughter, and my husband. My granddaughter was jumping on our bed messing around. While she's jumping, all of a sudden I noticed that there's a person staring at us through our window. I quickly realized that
Am I the asshole for refusing to attend an apology dinner after my mother-in-law called me a bad mother at my son's funeral? I lost my son to congenital heart disease, and he did not survive the open heart surgery at the age of 1 year and 6 months. Mother-in-law and I were in constant conflict. Things always been bad between us, but in those months, we reached our limit. She kept getting involved in my son's treatment and criticized every decision I made, claiming I didn't know how to handle my son's illness. We went low contact, but she kept causing issues occasionally. My husband was torn between our son's illness and his mother's issues. When my son passed away, she came to the funeral and caused a scene by arguing with me, knowing I had no energy for it.
Oh my gosh.
She used the fact that everyone was there so she could say it was my fault my son was born sick and I didn't take care of him properly, and that I was the one who took their grandchild away from them and caused them heartache. She then loudly called me a bad mother. I had no idea how I kept my composure.
Story time about how I catfished my boyfriend. I'd been dating my boyfriend Ben for around a year. We were really happy and he even moved in with me in my apartment. Everything was going great and I thought he could be the one. However, one day my friend Lacey sent me a screenshot of my boyfriend on a dating app. At first, I was hoping that maybe it was an old account. I didn't want to jump to conclusions if it was from before we started dating. The pictures that he had on the account didn't seem to be recent ones. I wanted to ask him about it and I almost did, but I had to be sure that he wasn't trying to play me. I called my friend Lacey and told her to super like him on the app. She's really pretty and they've never met, so I knew that he would match with her if he was still active on the app. After a few days, nothing happened. He hadn't matched or messaged her. I was so relieved that I even bought him a new jersey I knew he'd been wanting. I felt dumb even questioning his loyalty until I got an update from Lacey a few days later. He had matched with her on the dating app and messaged her. I was so mad I was seeing red. I was so close to going into the next room and going off on him, but I decided that I wanted to get back at him in a different way. I called Lacey and explained to her that I wanted to set him up and asked for her login information on the app, which she gave me. This is when things got interesting.